Hi guys, welcome back. And this week, what I'm going to talk about is just the saying that the slowest way back is the fastest way back. So I did my first race last week, hence why we had no Q&A, and it went really well. So I just want to talk about, like, again, some learnings. We're just going to talk about the acute to chronic workload ratio, especially for those getting ready for like half marathons and marathons, the importance of the pre-setup, like making sure that you're set up beforehand. And then we're just going to run through one of the newsletters that is going to be coming out soon, and I'll show you where you can sign up for that. Okay. James is with me and he just has a question. Haven't asked him what it is yet, so we'll see. James, what are you going to say? Sorry.
Yeah, just a question on long runs. We'll say, well, 10K, half marathon, even longer runs, even pacing when you have a hilly course. How do you, or
Yeah. Are you talking about like a race?
well, no, training runs really.
Okay. Yeah.
If you were trying to keep an even pace,
Don't
how do
worry
you
about the
cope with
pace.
hills?
Don't worry
Yeah,
about the pace. Yeah, you just got to
yes,
accept that on some of them you're going to be up on pace and effort, like a little bit less on effort. I would definitely cut back on the pace, and then you might be a little bit
yes,
faster on the downhill, and that would go for a race as well. Um,
right,
Too often you can have guys, and I had a friend there during the race, and he's in very good shape. He ran a PB, but he tell you himself he should have ran quicker, but the first K was slow. And sometimes, unless there's another group you can go to, sometimes you just got to accept, like, okay, this is slow now, like,
yes,
and try be as relaxed as possible in that in that it's a bit slower. Sometimes what can happen is, and it's the same if we're going up a hill, sometimes we can get antsy because we're trying to push the pace, or we can get antsy going down the hill because we're faster. And what you want to do is just get like comfortable in this situation. So if you're doing hills in train, if you're doing a hilly course in training, just accept that, like, you'll have parts of it. If the wind is against you, if the hill is against you, if you're going up a hill, you're going to be running slower. And then when you're coming
yes,
down the hill, you're going to be running faster, and it generally should even out. The thing you don't want to do is be increasing or decreasing your effort. So you don't want to be increasing your effort on an easy run going up a hill. And similarly, you don't want to really be decreasing your effort going down the hill. And I actually like
yes,
hills in runs for that reason. It changes the variation that you're getting, because your stride should be a little bit shorter. You should be leaning into the hill very slightly on an easy run, and then going up the hill, and your stride should be a little bit longer, and kind of like more relaxing falling down the hill on the downhill. So it changes the variation rather than having it completely flat and constantly just doing the same kind of stride length for the whole run, same pace. Having things that vary the pace on a run is actually quite good. That's why I like trails as well. Not like super hard, but it just makes you be aware of your footing, and it can kind of just keep the muscles engaged, and it can keep you changing up the pattern a little bit.
yeah. Just push it that bit harder going downhill. But I'm just wondering, are
Don't
you
push
losing a
it.
lot of energy then? Yeah,
Don't
yeah,
push it going down the hill. Really, like with downhills anyway, I usually find what I try to do on a downhill is try relax on the downhill, but just open my stride. So like if you can imagine, I'm trying to nearly relax my upper body, and I'm like just lengthening my stride. So I'm nearly like not braking going down the hill, if that makes sense. So I'm just letting my legs turn,
yes,
but I'm not forcing that. I'm not like trying to
yes.
push. So I'm kind of letting it do its
Okay,
thing. Um, but especially
okay,
on easy runs, I wouldn't even like consciously think about the up and down hills. I'd probably just run and accept, like, this one's going to be a little bit slower because we're uphill. This one's going to be a little bit faster because we're downhill.
yes, yes.
But
Okay,
in races, again, I actually on downhills never try push it downhill. I
yes,
just try
yes,
like lengthen my stride and kind of more fall down the hill. And then on
yes,
uphills, I don't try force them either, but I'll just lean in, and just like I'll lean into the hill slightly and shorten my stride very slightly, depending on how
yes.
severe, how steep the hill is.
Okay, okay. That's great. Thanks very
Brilliant, yeah,
much.
and that was a fantastic question. And then yeah, as I said, guys, sometimes as well, if it's in a race, I've seen this week where it just, especially in road races, you're going to have ones. Obviously, we'd love it if it's just completely smooth, but if you're in a group, sometimes you got to accept that like the race isn't going to be fast, or the race can turn separately. So like, as without like, the guy who I was running with was probably in roughly the same shape as me. But he doesn't have as much as experience, so he'll definitely, it won't, he's a smart guy, it won't take him long to learn that lesson. But that first K was slow, but I was like tucked in, because it's like, unless I'm going to push the pace now, there's no point stressing. Whereas he was kind of on the outside, he's not pushing the pace, but he's kind of looking across, kind of antsy to get going. But so burning energy, but not doing anything. So you'll have that in races where it's starting to slow, and you just got to make decisions like, okay, I'm going to take up this pace. Or if I'm not going to do that, sit in for now, so that later I can pick up the pace. And that's exactly what happened. The first K of our race was slow. I was like sat in. I was like, look, just stay relaxed. It's a good pace for you. And then the second, once they realized that we went through the first K slow, they absolutely hammered the second K. But because I was relaxed on the first K, it was a 5K race. It nearly felt like I was starting a 4K race. So I was kind of ready then to go with the guys for the second K, and kind of then ease back out into a normal race. Whereas then at the end of the race, with 1K left, I was kind of still had energy to go, where the other guy was kind of like flat out at that stage, because I feel like he burned too much oil not going anywhere. So if you're up there, that's fine. Like if you're beside someone because you both are trying to push and you feel like that's moving the pace on, that's completely fine. But that's different than you just being here, kind of tiring yourself out, but not really doing anything, not like increasing the pace or anything. Just sitting behind someone, relax, accept that, okay, this is the way the race is going, and like maybe it'll be closer to the end, I'm going to really push on and try and move on. So with that being said, I actually had a good race. I was like 14:42 on my watch. I think it came up as like 14:44, but a bit debatable on that chip time. Like that wasn't me on Strava. That's me like starting and stopping at the start line and going over. So anyway, but my prep, so that was my first race back in a long decent bit of time. And Brian Maher always had a saying, which was, the slowest way back is the fastest way back. And again, I talked about this a couple of weeks ago, but I just wanted to say it back in. It's like, remember, like, you get this stimulus in terms of do the sessions that you need, but there's no need to like flog those sessions. You have to accept where you are. And again, I said I ran into kind of mid to low 1440s, but I was kind of aiming for like 15 minutes back on my first race. And all my training was geared, like I didn't do any like 5K pace work. I was just doing like zone 3 work, and then doing like 10 by 400 at 10K pace off like 45 seconds recovery. And not 10K like my best 10K, like what I think I'd run for a 10K. So say 31:30. So like hitting 75s for me for 400, say 5-minute miling. Yeah, and like that was enough to be, to finish very strong, to have a good race, and sets it up nicely to progress on again. So a lot of times people are like thinking, okay, I got this race, I'm only coming back, so I'm not going to be in the shape I was, and I need to kind of do those sessions, and you're kind of pushing yourself too hard. Like I even see, and it kind of links me to the next point, which is you got to take in where you are. So I have a story, again, I like my stories, where I had a friend, and he hadn't raced in a good while, just kind of out of choice, but he's coming back. I better not say his job, it'll be kind of obvious who he is, but he has a very busy job, right? But he was just, usually the job can kind of ebb and flow. It's always generally busy, but there can be dips. But I've known him a long time, and I've never seen him as busy in the job. So he was trying to get back for the streets of Kilkenny. And he was kind of doing like the sessions he used to do to get ready for that. And they were long, chunky sessions, which would have been fine, except he was just so busy with work as well. So like, you know, he'd finish the workout or session and he'd have to leg it back into work, and he could be working until all hours that evening. And he just was absolutely flat as a pancake by the time the race came, to the fact where he was like, he had a kind of niggle then that was, you know, basically like inadequate recovery. So he had like a niggle, so he wasn't running that smooth. His motivation for the run was low. Like, I think if it wasn't in Kilkenny, where we're from, he would have not done the race. Where if you contrast that to me, I was still hitting all the sessions. So I was doing my Wednesday, doing my Saturday, but my long run still was, I did my first like 90 minutes would be my long run. And I did my first 90-minute long run this week. So I've run like, you know, 14, low 1440s, and would like have it, I'm not still up to my long run, you know, like it was 80 minutes I was up to. So same with the sessions, like again, as I said, I adjusted all the times. So I was going off, I always go off heart rate for the first part, so that's fine. And again, that was like usually my zone 3 can be like 520 pace, 525, 530. It's at 540. My lactic threshold at my best can be sub like 510 per mile. And then it was up around 520, so 320 per K, when it's usually maybe like 307, 310. So about 10 seconds a K slower. But just accepting, okay, that's where I am. You know, I've run sub 30 for a 10K, but I'm not in that shape, so I don't go near those. I just say, okay, you know what, I'd probably run, instead of 72-second 400s, I'd probably run 75. I'd probably run 5-minute miling. Yeah, but doing that, and it's enough speed in the legs to allow you to not feel like you're sprinting when you go out to do your 5K. You're getting close enough to it in training to kind of mimic the stimulus you're going to get. And it meant that like I was just really enjoying going back up to the race. Yeah, really enjoyed going up to the race, doing the race. I know the race went well as well, which always helps. But even beforehand, and maybe I'll be skewed now, but even beforehand, I was like, this is just great. And I feel like, look, this is my first race. I'm not expecting much out of it, and it can kick me on again. So sometimes you got to take in where you are. Like, and what I mean by that is, if you're very busy, you can't burn the candle at both ends. And that's a saying for a reason. And it really makes sense in running, because there's just two ends of the candle. There is the training aspect, and then there is your lifestyle work aspect. So like, if you have a lot on in work, with family, like with study or school, like you got to accept that it's like, okay, this isn't probably the best time to be like overreaching in my training. Maybe it's time like I just pull back, make the training a little bit more enjoyable, reduce the training volume a little bit if I need that, and then have a base where I'm not dreading going out to training, or it's not absolutely rinsing me. Because my friend there, as I said, and he's one of the best trainers and smartest guys for running I know, but he just kind of rinsed himself training, and then he was getting no respite in work, and then it kind of accumulated in a poor race, rather than kind of saying, I think in hindsight he'd even say himself he should have nearly just, it's hard because he's not going to race that much, so he had more of a deadline. So, which for most of us, it's probably better to go, you know what, I'm going to skip this race, or yeah, probably skip it and be like, I'm just going to stay training at a level I can. And now I might get a window after that where I can start ramping up the training again, or just take in a kind of more low key race, do that, and build in as we go. So yeah, I think you just got a couple of things there would be, in training, start where you are, not where you've been in the past. I feel like, again, he was going back, even though the speed might be down in the sessions he was doing, he's going back doing the volume of the session, and it might have just been a bit too much. And then also, are you really busy in work or life that it's harder to get the training in? And if so, then just adjust the training. Like, you'll still, because you're tired on that end, you'll actually get the same kind of stimulus because you're working proportionally as hard, if that makes sense. You know, if you're at 80% capacity and you do an 80% effort training, you've kind of hit the same training stimulus. You've worked yourself as hard if you were at 100% capacity and you went 100% intensity in training. So like you'll miss the neuromuscular bit a little bit, but the rest, like the cardiovascular and the other aspects, you're definitely hitting, and it's going to be a better long-term strategy. Okay, yeah, so that was just always good when my own advice works for me, and I just wanted to kind of share that. As I said, easing back into racing and feeling good after it as well is a good way to be. And I did it like, you know, I'm just being where I am and then gradually moving down, and not like getting greedy, not saying, do you know what, we'll go back to this. It's just like, that's where you are. Now you can recalibrate to a 1440 kind of 5K times if I'm doing that in training. And then that'll bring me on maybe to like 1420s or 14 teens. And then I can start calibrating the training off that again. So, okay, last thing before just going through, I'll just go through the newsletter. Fell to the ground. Would be pre-preparation. Is pre-preparation a word? I don't know. I don't think that is a word. But pre-preparation, we'll use it, is just remember, guys, one of the biggest things for injury is what we call the acute to chronic workload ratio. Okay, and what that is it's not the load that we're doing that really gets us. It's massive increases to the load that we are used to. That's why there's guys that can run 120 miles a week and not get injured, because they run 120 miles a week every week. And there's other people who are running 30 and try to go to 50 and do get injured. It's like, well, I'm doing less than half of what these other guys are doing. Yeah, but you've moved up too quickly. So obviously there'll be the fall or autumn marathons. People will be starting to prep for that, like going into a 16-week block come July, start of July. Those 16-week blocks can be quite aggressive in terms of their ramp up. You know, you can be back doing 90 minutes, like 100 minutes, 13 miles, and then go 14, 15, because you're going to have to drop back. You want to maybe do some like workouts or sessions in the long runs. So that being said, like if you're there doing a 50-minute long run currently and thinking, yeah, sure, I'll just wait until that 16-week block, you're putting yourself on the back foot. You've got to be now looking at, can I start ramping that up a little bit? So I've done 50 this week. Can I do 60? Because even if we just look through the weeks, so say this weekend will be the 1st of June, which is handy. So 1st of June, you'll do, say you normally do your run. Well, if we just say you're doing 50 or 60 minutes, like if we say you're not really doing a long run, but you'll get back into it and you're thinking of you're going to go to 90 minutes or something like that. Well, if you do, like, say if you normally do 50, if you do even 60 today, which 60 is a big jump, then we could do maybe like 65 on the 8th of June. 70 would be, we only have to do maybe 65 because we're already jumped 10 the week before. Then the 15th of June, we're going to go 65 will go to 70. The 22nd of June is going to be a rest, like a down week. So you'll have to go back to your 50 just to absorb that training. And then you're going to do, on the 29th of June, 75. The 6th of June, 6th of July, then you're already at, like, say 80. And then the following week is the first week of your block of training. So, you just like, and that's at least then you're only going from like, say 80 to 90. Whereas if you keep your 50s, just even for the next month, that's a big jump to 90. And then the following week, you could be doing 100 minutes. The following week after doing that, 110. Like from week one, you're like really working on these long runs. Where at least if we can have like 3 weeks of building it up to it, drop it down for like a week on the 22nd, and then build it up, and maybe even just do one build and take a little bit easier on the 6th. Because as well, if you think 6th day of July, So the 13th of July is generally when people will start. The following week is generally people do like a 10K in a block, so just remember that it's the adaptation. It's a massive, if it's acute. So what acute to chronic means is the acute is the training stress, is how much stress you're putting on your body. The chronic is your level of fitness. So it's the fatigue of the training you do versus your level of fitness, your ability to handle that fatigue. So if you can build up your fitness, your long run fitness, well, then when you're going into your marathon prep or your half marathon prep, it's not as a big a jump, and you don't want to be going in that the first couple of weeks are feeling like, Jesus, I'm struggling on 90 minutes, and it's like your plan is getting you to 2 hours in like 4 or 5 weeks because you got to get up to 3 hours by the week 12 or week 13. Slightly different now. If you've never done a marathon, you can kind of you'll only be hitting your 3 hours maybe like week 14 because it takes longer. But if you're someone who wants to build, I'd be thinking of adding 5 to 10 minutes to my long run this week. I'd be getting up to at least 90 minutes to maybe 100 minutes over the next couple of weeks, so that it's not as big a shock to the body, and you have a few weeks then to do that. So does that make sense, James? Just to anyone here?
Yeah. Yes.
Would you do that, or how do you find it?
Yeah, I generally build up like before I start. I've been doing marathons for years, but I have a build up done before I start.
Yeah, even before you start that like 16-week block, you'd kind of go into it.
Yeah.
You'd be starting to build up. Yeah, that's a good idea. Like, that's what I'm saying, that a few people, I feel they can kind of miss that essential part, and then just put themselves on the back foot. I'm just going to get this. I'm just going to pause. I'm just going to get up my newsletter, and that's the last thing we'll talk about. Okay, so just going to go through the newsletter now. These are all ready. Actually, I must find out how we share them because they're ready. So newsletter 6 will be, I like quotes, and this is a really nice quote. It's like, life is easy when you live it the hard way and hard when you live it the easy way. And that's so true. It's that idea of like just incremental steps, like little things that you do every day make a massive, massive difference. So, like, yeah, basically like doing things that are slightly difficult, like doing your Pilates, doing your extra like strides or whatever it is then constantly just allows you to, then you're not getting your injuries, for example, with Pilates or whatever. This is one, anyone who knows me knows I absolutely love a nap. Okay, like I love a nap. And again, the biggest thing I hear from people who say I don't nap is I never fall asleep. That is not the issue. Like, there's two things there. One, as you get used to napping, you'll be able to fall into deeper sleep. Like, you'll get into kind of deeper relaxed states. It just takes a while. Put your phone away, like put the timer on your phone, and then leave the phone on your like windowsill or something. Lie in bed, close your eyes, just breathe into your nose, out your mouth, let your mind wander. Just stay in bed though. You just need to get used to it. What I find with napping is it's not the sleep you're looking for. What you're looking for is the down regulation. We are all so stimulated. Like, I'm crazy for this. Like, I'm not some guru who's class at this. I'm like, when I'm like, I'm on work, and as soon as I stop work, I'm like, I nearly can't walk downstairs without turning on like YouTube and having something on or listening to something. I'm not on like TikTok or Instagram, but other people would be like that, flick through watching those videos, like, but I'm like that with YouTube. I'm always listening to something or on, or you might be checking your email. So it's nice to have something in the day where you go, to the fact where like you got to make yourself 15, if you have 15-20 minutes, ideal. 30 minutes is great. you know, eat your sandwiches like at your desk if you have to, like, you know, checking your emails, like, or whatever, or like try get them through quickly, just to try carve out some time if you can. And it's just the down regulation. It's the it's the breath. It's, you know, it's the just letting your body relax, leaving your mind some time. I recently got this app. It's like, what's it called? Minimalist, it's called. No sponsorship. I've got no sponsorship for this. Check out everhearpilates.com. But it's quite good. It blocks, like, I'm actually a demon again for like playing chess. I got a bit addicted to it. So it actually just, you can just put a block on it, and I have a block on now till like 1st of June, and it just says, yeah, remember you didn't want this. So it's a good one to do. You can just block stuff on your phone. If you're using your phone too much. I haven't blocked YouTube, but I need to block it. Like, okay, so 22 trials were included in this meta-analysis. So that means that there's 22 studies, and they take all the results. So they had 291 males with to estimate the association between daytime napping, cognitive and physical sport performance, and fatigue after normal sleep and partial sleep deprivation. The positive effects of napping were similar after partial sleep deprivation. Overall, the benefits were higher with a nap duration between 30 and 60 minutes. Generally, I would have always stopped a nap at like 45, so it didn't affect my like circadian rhythm. And when the time from a nap awakening to test was greater than 1 hour. Yeah, so look, you can, the first times you do it, you can be a little bit groggy. I also try, if I have my perfect day that I'm arranging it, I'll work in the morning, I'll go for my run at like 10 or 10:30. I'll come back, I'll get my like smoothie. I'll actually also try eat early, and then I'll go for my nap straight after that, and then I'll be up ready kind of to roll again. And I don't mind like working late. But if I get my nap and I have my food, I always feel like, okay, I've had the food and that's now like digesting and gives it better time. But that's just me. Okay. So remind me tomorrow. Okay, workout of the week then. This is aerobic development with 4 by 7 minutes. With every second one is 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off. I actually did this exact session this weekend, and it was actually money again, because the heart rate is the same. So let me see if I've done this, hopefully. Come on, lads. I think we did this before. Now all cookies. So you just hear, right? So I'm just doing like 7 minutes at that AT, and you can see now I'm picking it up for 30 seconds. So that's a quicker one. But now I'm jogging. But you see now the jog, it's not like I'm absolutely like just barely pottering. I'm actually like still in it, and then I'm going to pick it up here. So that's 7 minutes at E2 again. And then I'm doing my strides. So again, so you're doing your AT, your zone 3. Look at that. That's the same day, by the way. That's not me like, you know, I'm not actually bullshitting there on the thing. So like pretty dark day, but you're getting your AT in, then you're doing your 30 seconds on. What it's getting is it's just, again, opening up the legs. And then we're keeping the recovery steady. So like once we hit the 30 seconds, don't like slow down to a stop. Just let yourself roll through the set, and then just stay jogging. Because the idea is you want to hit the same pace for the second 7 minutes as you were kind of hitting for the first 7. So for example, on the weekend, we were hitting around 5:35 for that zone. That's 7 minutes of zone 3. I always find a race brings me on. And great, that's all I wanted to show. Basically, yeah, I was doing 7 minutes at 5:35. Then the second one, the 30 seconds on, you're not like trying to sprint. You're just like picking it up. It's just a bit of a quicker one. When we hit the 30 seconds, then allow yourself like just to natural, like you're not stopping dead. Because one of the guys who was running with us, he's nearly stopping dead and had to pick up. You're nearly like running through the line, like slowing down slowly, if that makes sense. So that means that because your pace then isn't going crazy slow. And then say for the first 10 seconds, you're kind of getting that for free because you're kind of just slow down after the harder effort. Then you're kind of just into that kind of steady run, but not like fast, but just kind of steady, but you're not jogging really slow. And then you're picking it up again. So it's just kind of gradual pickups, gradual slowdowns. And there's a guy who's really good aerobically, like really good. And he was leading all the steady ones, but he was really struggling with that pick up, slow down, pick up, slow down. So like heart rate, you're going to find it's roughly the same between all of them because the 30 seconds goes a bit easier. Heart rate might be a little bit higher on the 30 on, 30 off, but the pace should be the same. You shouldn't be way quicker on the 30 on, 30 off, or way slower. Okay, so you should be kind of roughly hitting the same, K pace or mile pace, depending on what you want to do. But I really like that because it's still developing aerobically. You're still running, say for me, your 5:35 miles. You're still running at like that kind of heart rate, but you're getting different stimulus when you're doing it. You're getting a longer stint, and then you're doing 30 on, 30 off, which allows that like turnover of the legs to be practiced. Okay, so the main objective of the session is to perform a series of intervals designed to build aerobic endurance with some speed elements. This workout combines steady state aerobic efforts with bursts of faster running. And again, it's not like sprinting here. It's just like, just to change the stimulus, change the variation a little bit. You can do from 3 to 5 repetitions of 7 minutes. We always try to do the last as a quicker one. And so if I were doing 5, for example, number 3 and number 5 would be 30 on, 30 off. If you're doing 4, number 2 and number, the only thing is if you're only doing 3, I'd actually do the middle one as the 30 on, 30 off, because I like to get the first rep at 7 minutes. It kind of warms up the body, kind of establishes what the kind of pace, like the actual pace should be. Good. Okay, key points to remember this is build gradually again. Especially in the first, when it's zone 3, don't worry if your first rep is like bottom end of zone 2, especially for the first, like say 5 minutes. Your body's just naturally adjusted. So you don't want to be sprinting to try get your heart rate up into that zone. Just if you've done other sessions in the past, use it as a guide. Like we'd go at like 5:40, as I said, and that day just was a bit faster, but like we were at 5:40 pace, checked my heart rate. It's still a bit low, pick it up a little bit. Then it got into, the low end of zone 3 for the first one. Great, let's just stay here. And I was just saying that use your last session as benchmark for pacing, and then consistency during the intervals. The 30 seconds on should be challenging but controlled. It's not a sprint, and the off effort should be at a steady, moderate pace. It's not like full rest, so it's not like you're sprinting into a really easy jog. It's just a gradual pickup, gradual slow down. Okay, when to run or not to run. I'm literally just making up. I just did a little Instagram post. I'm going to have it put out soon, but you can stay running on something if the pain doesn't make you limp or change the way you run. Okay. If you have a sharp pain, if it's like you can point to the spot that's sore rather than just being a general dull ache, stop. If it's worse the next day, like, so if you went running and then the next day, say it was 3 out of 10, and the next day it's like 5, 6 out of 10 at rest, that's telling you you're doing too much. And you might just either have to like drop the sessions you're doing, drop the amount of running you're doing, or actually just take a rest day. Good. So that's just about, I did the thing. And then one thing I would say is the Lindsay Dunn rule, which is one of my old coaches, God rest his soul, he was a lovely man, was if you're sick or injured, it's like the day you feel better. So once you stop running, the day you feel better, the day you feel like I can go back out, take one more day, especially when you're sick. Because there's a lot of times you start to feel better. And then the next, like I'd be like, oh, I can go back running today. And he goes, just take one more day off. And he'd ring me the next day. It's like, I feel horrible again, So sometimes that can happen where you get like a little lip, you know, if you have a flu or something, it's like, oh, I feel all right. And then you're dying the next day again. So always just take the day you feel like you're going to come back, take one more day. It just allows you to really make sure you're nicely recovered. Okay. Pilates exercise of the week. Oh yeah, so that week what we were doing is like kind of weights. I love adding the weight into Pilates. Kind of adds a nice little challenge. So what exercise am I doing? Let me zoom this in. Yeah, so I did a weighted running man. Again, it's just a normal running man that we do, but adding the weight just adds that core stability element, just adds a little bit of endurance to it. Then we did a kind of like goblet squat. Again, just another challenge to the squat. Then I was doing wall drives, or it could be like calf drives. I like wall drives again. So many people, especially when they're doing, I'd say half marathons and marathons, they don't actually lift their knees. And you can see people and they're flicking their legs out to the side. They're really overusing their calves. And then they're coming in with knee issues or calf issues. And they're like, I don't know what's going on. It's like, you have not lifted. I've seen you run. You don't lift your knees. So, you know, it's like where we say you need to have the building blocks. You know, like you need to be practicing that. So it's like, oh, how do I lift my knees? And you don't do it running. But what you do is have some exercises in the week where you have a knee lift, you know, so that at least the hip flexors are strong. The core is able to like disengage the leg for stability. So I like to practice those knee drives, kind of that good sprint mechanics into the wall. Just the top corner there. Then we're doing like kind of our push up and row. In the second one, we kind of row the weight good. Here you can see that the back aware belt just in the corner. So I'm trying to keep that sensor. So I'm not letting the back position change at all throughout it. So I'm kind of hinging down through the knees. Back position's not changing. And then pushing back up. And again, you can see I actually just go on my wrists because I don't like going completely flat on my wrist to get sore. And then the last ones are kind of single leg deadlift with jump. So we have the weight in one hand, that's a heavier weight. Again, I try to keep the upper arm nearly in line with the body. That really works the shoulders. If anyone's any shoulder issues, doing a single leg deadlift, but keeping your upper arm in line with your body. So that's the bottom left-hand corner picture. That can really, really make a difference. It really gets all the postural muscles working around the shoulder. Great. Good. All right. I didn't know how that was going to go. James is gone, just on my own now again, so I can do what I want. But actually, great question from James just on the uphill and downhill. Really good stuff on, you know, the slowest way back is the fastest way back. Thinking that like you're going to force your way back actually can be counterproductive, and actually taking it easier, getting the training in, but not trying to force the training allows you to adapt at the pace that you're probably at. And then taking in where you are, not where you'd want to be. If you have a lot of stuff on, if you're not at the level of fitness, again, it just allows you to come back. And as I said, I had a really good first race back. And then remembering that for people doing the marathon, half marathon, the acute to chronic workload, if you're going to do it now, if you're going to do the crime, you got to do the time. And now's the time to start looking to build up your long run pace to at least 90 minutes or 90 to 100 minutes, so that it's not a big shock in about a month's time when you're going back into it. Okay, anybody will be doing running training for the marathon, we're setting that all up. And we will be doing our Pilates. We have no groups running at the moment, but they will start back in the end of June for people getting ready for like half marathons or marathons to kind of be prepped for the autumn. So reach out to us on everardpilates.com or everardpilates@gmail.com, and we can put you on the waiting list for that. Okay, thanks. I hope you enjoyed that.